You are from?
Ohio.
From Ohio. That's one of the swing states.
Yeah.
So many people are talking about what's going to happen on next Tuesday. What do you feel about this election?
I mean, kind of like my side, it's a really important time for the U.S. Kind of just for us personally, like directing the landscape of what it's going to look like the next 5 to 10 to 12 years down the road. So I think it's really important for us to execute our right to go vote. And, you know, obviously being a part of a swing state, we kind of go either way depending on the election. So it'll be a close race.
That polls are not clear about the future. It's like 51% for Donald Trump, 47% to Kamala Harris. What's the difference between one and the other, in your point of view?
I think the biggest point of view, I mean, obviously for me, I'm a young female in the U.S. I mean, just the reproductive rights and things like that you may have a personal stance on. But as far as like legislative views and stuff like that, like I wouldn't go into a ton of detail because I'm not overly educated on the topic that I would feel comfortable talking about it.
Mm-hmm. Talk to me about, first of all, about Kamala Harris. Who is Kamala Harris?
I mean, obviously, like Maya said, she's the current vice president. Her credentials speak for herself. I mean, at the end of the day, like we're kind of detached from the U.S. right now, so it's kind of hard for us to be super involved other than social media and the news and stuff like that from a distance. So, I mean, we're following as much as we can.
Mm-hmm. We get news about the campaign here in Spain. Mm-hmm. You told about that. It's far away from there, but there's a feeling about a different election with Donald Trump coming back to the power and the consequences it could have.
I think there's consequences on both sides. I mean, it's a presidential election. You're going to be one way or another. Somebody's going to be unhappy with what takes place. So I think the biggest thing for us is, I mean, obviously we can't control the outcome to an extent, but you know, voting at the end of the day, executing our right, being educated on the topics, legislation, the bills in place, I think is the most important thing, just being educated.
Mm-hmm. What are the most important issues for you as a voter?
I think the most important thing for me is just like life down the road. I mean, we're not just voting for this year or this election. It's the landscape for the U.S. for the next 4, 8, 12 years.
What do you talk with your family there, your friends there?
We actually don't talk about the election at all. We're not a super like political family, so we don't talk about it.
Okay, Maya, so you are from New York. You were born there.
Yes.
And your family lives where?
Georgia.
Georgia. So next Tuesday, there's going to be the presidential elections at the States. How are you following the campaign from here, from Spain?
Mostly just on social media and also in my family group chat. We kind of talk about the election and what's going on. So from those two places.
Mm-hmm. Do you think there's a different point on this election between Kamala and Donald Trump and other elections previously?
Yeah, I think of course, every election is important, but this one is definitely a very important election. I would even say for our lifetime, and especially for my lifetime. So I think this election is important for everyone to vote and get out and talk about these issues and go vote November 5th.
Can you vote from here?
Yes. So I was able to get an absentee ballot. So I was able to send that early. So I voted from here. I was worried about it getting back to the U.S. because I've never voted this way, but it was very easy, and I'm happy I was able to do it. And of course, vote because it's very important too.
How do you feel your family is living these times? Are they worried about the future, about what's going to happen?
I definitely think there's some anxiety because you don't know what's going to happen. And of course, whoever wins, it's going to be a different landscape for the U.S. So there's definitely anxiety. There's also some hope for the future. If you don't have hope, then it's going to be a hard time to move forward. So I'd say a mixture of both.
Mm-hmm. What do you think is going to happen?
I don't know. It's a close race right now, especially like in Georgia and a lot of other swing states. So that's why there's a lot of anxiety right now about the election, because it can go either way. That's why it's important that everyone votes, and we'll see what happens.
The distance from here, we feel that Donald Trump could be a dangerous man for the states. He has already been a president. What do you think about him?
Well, personally, I think he's dangerous for the U.S. Just some of his policies about NATO and some of the other rhetoric he's talked about Vice President Kamala Harris about and other things. He's definitely someone that it's concerning to see how the country will move forward. That's why it's important for us to actually know the real news and make sure we know what's misinformation and what's real information, and vote in the way that we think is the best for our country.
Mm-hmm. And the last one, do you think the states are ready for a woman as a president?
I hope so. I think we are. I think we should be. The 21st century, Vice President Kamala Harris, she's vice president and she has a lot of credentials, and it shouldn't be just because she's a woman that we're looking at her in a different light. So I hope that we're moving past this and it won't deter people from voting.